being with us. Our top story tonight, attorneys presented their closing arguments in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial, but the case is far from over. The final verdict will be felt far beyond the courtroom. The defense opened today reiterating the hush money plot was Michael Cohen's idea, not President Trump's, and continued to attack Cohen's credibility, calling him the MVP of liars. After a short break, it was the prosecution's turn. It once again said the former president should be held accountable for his attempt to corrupt the 2016 election. And joining us now outside the Manhattan courtroom is Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press. Philip, good to have you back on again. You're right there at the scene. Tell us a little bit more about the mood following closing arguments today.
Well, it's ongoing, in fact, because today is going to be a particularly long day in court for everybody involved, maybe appropriate for the day of closing arguments, maybe the most important day of them all for the former president in court so far. We heard from Donald Trump's defense team, first of all, this morning. They're essentially saying there is no case here. Donald Trump did nothing wrong, and we are now in that portion where the prosecution also gets its last opportunity to influence those 12 jurors before jury deliberations begin. From the former president himself, no particular reaction really. He's been sitting again in court all day, as he has done for the past 5 weeks. No discernible reaction from him in the courtroom. The usual thumbs up from him in the hallway to the camera before and after he entered the courtroom for any breaks that there might have been. A few protesters here outside of the courthouse, maybe a few dozen, and a larger media presence than over the last few days. All of this does go to show that this is most likely going to be the most important week in this trial so far.
Yeah, and Philip, during closing arguments, defense attorney Todd Blanche, as we know, seemed to attack Michael Cohen over again. How do you think that strategy went over with jurors? Is there any way to tell?
No discernible reaction from this jury. They're a pretty disciplined bunch in there. Don't really show any reaction when listening to the prosecution or to the defense. No change really in their demeanor. But you're absolutely right that what the defense here is saying, what Donald Trump's lawyers have said again today, is that essentially this case hinges on the credibility, or in their view, the lack of credibility of Michael Cohen, Donald Trump's former lawyer, the key witness essentially in this case. They say that he cannot be believed because he has lied in court before. They call him the greatest liar of all time. What does the prosecution have to say about that? Well, they say, yes, he has lied in the past, but he is somebody who was very, very close to the former president and knew exactly what he was doing.
And Philip, when do you think we can expect jury deliberations to begin?
You know, all of this is now going to be speculation, but it's no secret to tell you that this is what we're talking about here. When might there be a verdict? It could be this week. It could also be next week. It all depends on whether there is a unanimous agreement among those 12 jurors. But there are essentially three possibilities here. One is that the former president is found guilty, but in order for that to happen, what the prosecution has to prove here and has to convince the jurors of is that, first of all, the former president falsified documents, but didn't just do that. He also did so with the greater goal in mind of influencing the 2020 election. That is relatively hard to prove. The prosecution will have their work cut out. Now, the essence, though, of this case is that there has to be a unanimous decision for there to be an acquittal or for Donald Trump to be found guilty. Anything else would lead to a mistrial. That, of course, means that the whole thing could, in theory, start all over again. But that, I think, would be deemed a success by Donald Trump.
Well, Philip Crowther in New York City for us tonight. Thank you.